Welcome to the Work Camping with Why Not Wander podcast. One of the reasons we were most looking forward to talking with Jeff and Sara is because of their experience work camping in the KOA network. We learned the difference between KOA corporate and KOA franchise campgrounds from a work camping perspective, along with so much other great information. We really hope you enjoy today's episode. So we're going to start with, what did you do pre-RV life? Why did you make the change?
Pre-RV life, I was a facilities maintenance technician, everything from plumbing, electrical, to fixing CNC machines. I did that, worked for the same company for about 26 years. Towards the end of my career, I was working 10, 12 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, and I was the only guy in the facility really doing that position. And I was just getting so burnt out. I was on call all the time. Near the end of my career, I just realized that we had to make some sort of change. I was just getting burned out. I was coming home, going to bed, getting up, going to work, and it was just not a good thing.
I had a remote job. I homeschooled the kids. I worked this job, and then that job got us on the road. That's what kind of pushed us, made us go, oh, we can do this. I actually just quit that job in the last week. So I no longer have it, but that is what I did pre-RV life and during RV life up to this point.
Her having the remote job was pretty much what allowed us to get started. We knew that we would have some income, hitting the road, not knowing where we were going to go. So her having that remote job at the beginning was definitely a big plus for us hitting the road.
Yeah, that had to have made things a lot easier, taking some pressure off anyway. How long have you been on the road then?
We left January 30th, 2020. So we are coming up on 5 years.
We had all kinds of great plans to do a big circle through the country, and COVID definitely changed that for us.
But it all worked out.
But it did absolutely all work out.
Yeah, if there's any place to be stuck, I think I'd rather be stuck out there.
I agree.
So why work camping? What got you into work camping then?
Well, pretty much COVID got us into work camping. We had talked about doing that. We knew that at some point we would be work camping. Again, with 2020, COVID kind of shutting everything down. The small town that we were in, the grocery stores were closing. I couldn't get a haircut. We just started looking for some place that we could be where we could make a little extra money at the time and have a good place to stay that had full hookups and stuff. Just be in one place for, a season, try to ride out COVID, figure out what was going on with that, and then have a place to work camp. So luckily, we had been doing a big circle kind of through the Southwest, and had planned on going through California and going up the coast. But we did a big kind of U-turn and wound up in Colorado working at a campground. And that wound up being a really good summer.
Well, and part of that too is when we left our youngest daughter, we have 3 daughters. Our youngest was left with us. She was 17, and then COVID shut down our middle daughter's job up in Granby, Colorado. So she had to come live with us for a little while. So it was all 4 of us in the RV, which luckily we picked an RV, which we had plenty of room for them. Finding the work camping job was perfect because it gave everybody in the family a job during these circumstances, and they could both make money too. And so it was just perfect.
So what jobs have you guys done since you've been on the road?
2 summers in a row, we worked at a campground called Fun Valley in South Fork, Colorado, which is a beautiful area of Colorado. And I worked in the grocery store there. Nothing I ever planned on doing, nothing that I'd ever done. Even as a kid, I never worked in a grocery store. And it's a small, grocery convenience store that had fishing gear and, food and anything that a guest would need coming to the campground. We worked on a ranch in Texas. Was kind of a different work camping opportunity. Worked at a boat and RV storage as security. That was definitely a different work camping, opportunity. And that was kind of an opportunity that I wasn't making any money, but we had a place to park our RV. We had full hookups. So it was just a place to live and enjoy that area for that time frame. You're a KOA, where we have been for the last few years and where I'm currently at now, which is in Ouray, Colorado, which is one of our favorite places in the world. Just gorgeous. Down on Sugarloaf Key, just north of Key West, one of our favorite places. And we always talk about wanting to go back there in the winter because 80-degree days every day in the winter is a winter.
And let me add too, most times when you work camp, you need to have a couple. So our youngest daughter was our second for those work camping jobs at Fun Valley, and then our middle daughter at Fun Valley too. I worked in the camps or in the gift store there. They had like the grocery store that he was in, and then they had like a gift store with all the t-shirts and, fun stuff to buy. So I worked in there just a little bit, like not a whole lot. And I think it was more towards the end of our time there that they needed help. So I went in there and helped a little bit and worked my remote job. So then at Sugarloaf in the Keys, Evelyn was our second, worked in the cafe with him. I did not work there at all. And then Ure here.
Ure, this KOA, I've pretty much done just about every position that you could do. So I came in planning on being a maintenance guy. So before the end of the season, I was the maintenance supervisor. Even before the end of the season, I had started taking over some of the responsibilities of the assistant manager. And then the next season, I came back as the assistant manager and was an assistant manager the entire season. And now I'm the general manager. So kind of a wide gamut of different positions that I've held in different campgrounds, and they've all been good.
With KOA, when you went down to Sugarloaf, are you essentially transferring within the KOA network, or how did that work?
This is a corporate park. Sugarloaf Key is a corporate park as well. So you're basically transferring from one KOA to another within the corporate system. So it's a little bit different than a lot of other KOAs because a lot of them are franchise owned. So when you're going from a franchise owned park to a franchise owned park, there really isn't a transfer. You're getting terminated, then you're going to start at another park. But when you're staying in the KOA corporate system, you're transferring from one park to the next. And that's how that works.
And you obviously get precedence over anyone else applying for a job in Sugarloaf Key, right?
I won't say you get precedence, but it can be a little easier to get into a corporate park. I will say that getting into Sugarloaf Key KOA, everyone in the country wants to be down there in the winter, so it's very difficult, and you really it's hard to get into that park as a work camper. You also have to apply and be willing to work there for a year,
which was not the case when we were there. So things have changed since we were there. We were able to be there just for the winter, and now you have to agree to stay for a year.
Yeah, and I've noticed that's the case for a lot of Florida jobs now. They require you to do the year because, of course, everybody wants to be in Florida for the winter.
I somewhat understand that, especially as an employer now, being the general manager of a campground.
So when you're working for KOA, prior to your management positions, if you stay working for KOA, are there benefits like year-round if you become a year-round employee?
So there's health insurance. As long as you're they're considered a full-time employee, so you bounce from KOA to KOA. As long as you don't leave the system more than 2 weeks, unless you have vacation. Let's say I'm driving from here to the next KOA and it's only going to take me a week to get there. You stay employed. You can get health benefits. They have 401k program. Basically, all of the benefits that a typical corporation would have is available to KOA work campers as long as they're staying within that corporate system.
That's really good, since that's obviously hard to come by when you're jumping from work camping job to work camping job. That's a definite option for more security for the people who feel like they need it.
Absolutely. And another great benefit of being in the KOA corporate system is it's much easier to then find another campground in the corporate system to get a job, because the managers talk back and forth and let other managers know that, yeah, this is a great employee. You definitely want to bring them in, keep them for a season, but please let me have them back.
So one question that comes to mind with returning to the same location year after year after year, is that a struggle when we basically all hit the road to see the country? I'm sure you get asked that a lot, or at least people are wondering.
Probably not in Colorado, though, I feel, but we'll see.
If anybody that's been to this part of Colorado would know that it's pretty much not a struggle to come back to this part of Colorado. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Our trails go up over 13,000 feet. Our mountain peaks go up over 14,000 feet. It's just a gorgeous view, 360 degrees. But there are times when we're like, man, we could be in Arizona right now, or we could be in Florida right now.
Well, when we left Ohio to do this full-time RVing, we didn't have any plans. We need to hit 50 states and, by a certain amount of time. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just going to do whatever and figure it out along the way. And, you know, our oldest daughter, she also lives in Colorado Springs. And when we first left, our oldest and middle lived in Colorado Springs. I think that's another reason why we kind of ended up in Colorado a lot, but never really thought about that or planned any of this. But this was our third summer, this past summer here in Ouray, and still every time we leave the campground or drive anywhere around here, we're just like, oh my gosh, look at this. Can you believe this is where we're at? You know what I mean? So even 3 seasons into it, it's like, it's not old. I don't know if it'll ever get old.
It will never get old.
But, you know, at some point, we'll probably end up moving on. We don't know when that'll be. But when you're in a place where every day, 3 summers later, you can still say, oh my gosh, look at that. It's totally okay too. You know, you wish for some Arizona in the winter or the Keys or whatever, but you know, we're close to Utah and Arizona and New Mexico and all the places that we've always wanted to be. So, you know, we can hop over there for a long weekend or, you know, for a couple weeks here and there. So
That's awesome. As a manager, so because you're closed during the winter, what are your duties in the winter?
So we're still making a lot of reservations. So that's my main duty, trying to keep water pipes from freezing, keeping snow pushed out of the way because we do have deliveries. We do have people that come in. We do have a laundry facility that's still open and a bathhouse that's still open. So we have to keep those running because we do have ice climbing in this area. So we do have people that come through and do ice climbing in the winter, and they're looking for a place to take a shower or a place to do their laundry. We don't have any campsites open for them, but they can still come and, you know, use some electricity if they need to.
I buy stuff for the store, the camp store. What else do I do? I'm starting to learn bookkeeping. So he's going to help
desk and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
He's going to start working on training me to do that stuff. But I'm just clean, you know, stuff needs cleaned up. And so I'm doing that, getting stuff organized for the store, coming up with new t-shirt designs and stuff to get in, all that kind of stuff. I like that. It's fun.
That's awesome. That would be fun.
Yeah, that is cool.
So are you going to join the team now that you are done with your remote job?
I actually worked my remote job and worked here at the KOA, probably split about 50-50 last season. So I was buying stuff for the store last season too, but it was our first season like managing it. So, you know, we were trying to make it our own and come up with products that we already know full-time RVers need or want when they get here. So I spent a lot of time getting that kind of stuff and contacting brands that we know we like, you know, for tank treatments and I don't know, just getting all the stuff RVers want. So it was, so I'm going in the second year. The first year was kind of like crazy and cleaning up stuff and getting in stuff that we knew we wanted to sell or we knew would sell well. So I'm working on still kind of cleaning that up.
That sounds like fun. I would love that.
Yeah. And we totally know the feeling of a work camping job and feeling so blessed to be where you're at. So it's cool that you guys feel that way. So what do you love about work camping, and finish that off with what's your least favorite part as well?
What I love about work camping is probably the people. You get to meet so many different people every single day. People are coming in from all over the country, all over the world. You know, at this campground that we're currently at, we have people from Germany and Denmark and Sweden and Mexico, South America, just everywhere that you can imagine. You know, sometimes they invite you over to have their food, but meeting people, you know, different people every day is just so amazing. And then also with that, getting to choose the area where you want to live and work. I think that's the big part of, you know, loving about work camping. Those are the 2 major things for me that is great about work camping.
I mean, I have always, you know, mostly done my remote job, so I don't have as many feelings, I guess, about work camping yet. I think for us, it's the people.
And we've met some great friends. You know, we have friends that live in Texas that we met work camping. We've gone down and pulled the RV and stayed on their ranch and, you know, done stuff with them. And it's just a great way to meet new people and new cultures. And I would say probably the hardest part about work camping, which a lot of people don't think about ahead of time, is the human aspect. You're living, working, breathing, seeing the same people within several feet sometimes all day long, every day. That can be the hardest part. I think, because sometimes you just don't click with your next door neighbor, but you have to stay there and live with them, for 6 months.
I would agree. I remember one of our jobs not being super, super fond of our coworkers slash neighbors. And at one point I was like, we just need to leave for the day. As much as I want to stay home today on our day off, we just need to leave so that we can get away from this feeling of constantly being around these same people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had those times too. On the other hand, you end up, when we were in the Keys, we were next to a family, and the wife was originally from France, and they had kids, and they would sit out, and I took French in high school. Well, we both did,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We just loved being next to them because they would listen to the French music and they would speak in French, and it was just like, it was really fun. You know what I mean? They're great people anyway, but it's just fun to be around different stuff.
And, the human aspect isn't all bad. It's absolutely great. Like she said,
Right.
We've had some great times. We'd have cookouts and fires with some of our other camp workers. And then we've been areas where we just wanted to sit in the RV every night because it wasn't as great as it could have been. But, we lived through it. We learned something, and we got to be in an area we wanted to be in.
Yeah, we definitely agree. We've also worked with people that we absolutely love, and we are great friends to this day. You have good and the bad.
One of the worst things you can do when you hit the road as a full-time RVer is rely on campground internet. To say it is unpredictable would be an understatement. But finding our own reliable internet is a challenge we did not anticipate. We struggled through an entire year of endless connectivity issues with the first mobile internet provider that we used. We thought it was normal as full-time RVers until we found OTR Mobile. OTR Mobile has literally changed our life and ability to stay connected on the road. Now, no matter where we are work camping or traveling to, we don't even have to think about our connection anymore because we have fast, reliable, and unlimited internet wherever we go. Thank you to OTR Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Work Camping with Why Not Wander. Okay, before we jump off of all of that, I'm so curious. What did a day on working at a ranch look like for you guys?
So that was pretty much me. Sara had a remote job. So working on the ranch, it was a working, cattle ranch. They did have cattle that I had to make sure that they had access to water. They had to get through a fence. I had to open and close gates depending on when they needed to be fed. It was in Texas, so the wild pigs would run through the fences. I would fix a fence. The next day, they would have run through the fence. So I would be running around the ranch, fixing fences, walking the fence lines, making sure that the cattle were in the field that they were supposed to be in for that day. And there were a few times where I had to get Sara and wrangle some cattle with me that got into the wrong field that we were trying to grow for hay and push them back over to the other side of the ranch. Cutting down trees, burning brush, trying to keep mitigate the possibility of brush fires because, it is very dry there in Texas. So you have to keep everything cleaned up and cleared up. And then getting rid of the pigs if I could get rid of the pigs because they would just come through and destroy and eat all of the grass and stuff that the cows could eat. So definitely having to get rid of wild pigs as well.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was a lot of fun. It was a place we wanted to be.
It was just another opportunity that came about because of somebody we had met previously, when we were in Colorado. So it was, you just were like, oh, sure, we'll try that.
So have you had a most challenging time or event or anything that you guys have faced as work campers?
I mean, we really have been so super lucky. We haven't had any major struggles as work campers. Really, I would say our major struggle goes back to, trying to work through problems with other work campers, not getting along or...
You had one job you didn't love.
I had one job I didn't love. It was working in a cafe in a building and with the equipment that wasn't made to really serve the amount of people that they were wanting to serve. I could take 2 or 3 orders a day, and that's probably what it was meant for. But then they would have concerts, and then it would be hundreds of people. It would be lines and lines and hours of tickets to try to get food to people. And that was probably the most difficult time work camping. But we still made it work. We were in an area that we absolutely wanted to be in and absolutely would love to go back to.
What has surprised you the most about work camping?
How easy it is. I mean, it's really easy. we found so many ways to enjoy our days, being in an area that we want to be in, and wake up every morning and say, man, I live here and I work here. That was kind of a big surprise because we didn't know what we didn't know. So, when you first leave your home base where you live for your entire life for 45 plus years, and then hit the road and then see the entire country is the big surprise.
I guess I was working the remote job, and I would always, I wasn't obviously interacting with the other work campers or the guests at the different places. So once I started working here at Ouray, I realized how much I was missing seeing other people, talking to other people. Because, this guy, he'll walk around the campground and end up with 20 new friends. I'm a little bit less like that, but it's just you get to meet so many different people from so many different places. I realized I was kind of missing out on that all this time. So I guess that's what surprised me.
So what would your number one tip be for someone looking to get into work camping?
The being flexible, that's absolutely the most important part as a work camping employee. You have to go into a interview, and into a position knowing that you have to be flexible. And I understand there's some people that want a front desk job, and that's the only thing that they feel comfortable doing. And then there's other people that would like to do housekeeping and absolutely cannot function working at the front desk. I do understand that, as an employer as well. But as a work camper, you really just have to be flexible. And when I first got here, I would be plunging a toilet one day and I'd be working the front desk the next day, and I may be, cleaning a cabin the day after that. So just being flexible, you just make yourself more important to that campground that you're at.
I started out thinking like I'll totally clean bathrooms. It's got to be way better than working at the front desk. And I'm like, yeah, I think I like the front
desk. I never wanted to go to a campground and work in a cafe, but I did it for an entire season, and it was an amazing time outside of the work. You did the job, and at the end of the day, we would take a boat 6 miles offshore and sit out in the sun in the middle of the ocean. So I couldn't complain.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. Had I not agreed to clean bathrooms, we wouldn't have been able to spend winters in Florida. So it totally is. It's a give and take, a sacrifice on your part for the benefit of the area you get to be in and the things you get to do.
And like he said, it doesn't, the having to go into different roles, at least in our experience, hasn't happened that much. But I just keep thinking back to this past season. Got to the end of the season and I think somebody was sick, or, people start moving on to their next, their winter job or whatever. And one of our maintenance guys had to work the front desk, and he had luckily worked, at a KOA front desk for just a little bit somewhere else. But, he's just like, I'm going to do this. I got this, and we're like, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been kind of our experiences. We haven't been asked to do a lot outside of what they hired us for.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you love about full-time RV life?
I would say it's probably the minimalist lifestyle. Just going from a 1,800 square foot house, which isn't that big, to a 190 square foot RV. That was just so amazing, so freeing. It took us a while. Some of us had problems getting rid of some of her stuff.
See, I don't even think that's very true, because we never had a whole lot of stuff in there. Like, I would always keep it. I'm not a hoarder.
No, she's not a hoarder. I just mean, like, all of the kids' artwork.
Oh, that. Okay,
all of the kids' artwork from the time they could hold a crayon to the time they graduated high school. She kept all of that stuff. So getting rid of stuff like that, and
yeah, there was moments of crying in the basement while I went through the tubs of homeschooling stuff. When we got rid of stuff, it was everything from garage sales, which we had 3 or 4 of them, to taking stuff to Goodwill, to starting a fire. Because we had a pretty big backyard and we could start fires, and we would just burn stuff too,
Yeah.
And so it was hard when you're taking your kids' phonics stuff from 2nd grade and putting it on the fire.
But we've just loved living this minimalist lifestyle now, and we've realized that if we ever did quit, we would probably buy a small piece of property somewhere where we could build a tiny house, because we don't need a great big house. We've learned that we would just
some sort of tiny house or a silo house or an earth ship or something like that. I've been ready to build an earth ship for years, so
we love living tiny and living small. Right now, we love being able to travel. Our house is currently on wheels. If we decided to move tomorrow, we have the opportunity to do that, and there's not really any reason not to. So that's what we love about full-time RVing, just being able to pack up and go if we want to.
Yeah, we talk all the time about buying a small piece of land and putting a shed house on it or something like that. We feel the same way. We want nothing to do with traditional sticks and bricks life, something alternative, something tiny, minimal. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the process like for you guys to shift from 1,800 square feet to your 190? Like, what was your time frame? Did you have years to do this, or was this a short amount of time?
I was getting burnt out with my job. I was perusing YouTube videos at one point, and I found a video of a guy living in his van for 6 months out of the year that he converted to live in. He would live in his van for 6 months out of the year, and then he would go work 6 months out of the year, and then he would just swap back and forth. We had always wanted to travel anyway. Our daughters, were going to Colorado, so we wanted to be able to leave Ohio and go to Colorado. How could we do that? We didn't know where we wanted to live.
We liked every part of like, I love desert, he likes mountains. We both like both. But when we would talk about moving, we were like, well, we don't know where we're going to move.
Or how we're going to do it.
Because we couldn't decide. I would be like, well, let's move to Arizona. And he'd be like, well, let's move to Colorado.
So it took...
You showed me that video.
I showed her the video of the guy living in his van. I just said, take a look at this video. It's crazy. I've never heard of it before, but just take a look at the video. And she watched the video. We watched it together.
That sent us down the YouTube rabbit hole
of
watching YouTube videos every night.
It
was like a year and a half before we left. That's when we kind of started watching YouTube and seeing that people were doing these kinds of things that we never even had thought of. And then I remember it was in January of the year before we left. At one point, we probably were up to like 2 a.m. and I was like, we either have to like do this or stop watching the YouTube videos, because I can't take this anymore. I want to do this, so let's do it or let's not. And in that immediately we started figuring out what we were going to do and how we were going to make it happen. And then by the following January, we left.
So
basically,
we did take a year. That's very important to us, and we tell everybody who has talked to us about it. Don't take it lightly. Don't just sell everything you own, buy an RV. I guess you can. We took a year, to really. I don't know how many RVs we looked at. We went to RV shows. We went to RV lots just to look at every single RV brand, make, model, fifth wheel, travel trailer. And then we would do research. I would find one that I liked. I'd do the research on it, and then I would maybe cross that one off my list. And we kept coming back to the same model that we're currently in that we're very, very happy with.
And maybe a year doesn't seem like enough time for some people, or maybe it seems like too much time. I don't know. So, but it felt right to us, and so that's what we did.
I would say probably the biggest thing when you're going to go full-time RVing is just research. Especially the most important part is the RV that you choose. It doesn't matter what RV you choose. Know how everything in your that RV works before you even buy it. And that's what I did. I watched YouTube after YouTube video of every aspect of this RV model. That way I knew what to expect, when we hit the road.
That's what she and I say all the time is when you're wanting to go on the road full time and you're looking at all these RVs, don't look at what you think is, oh, this is so cool, this is so homey, or I like this. Think about that being your full-time life and what works for you. There's so many cool looking RVs and you'll just walk in and say, yeah, this is the one. But you really have to do some research and think about how you're going to be living.
Right. And that's really the important part about the RV. You need to decide ahead of time what type of camping you're going to do. The problem is we knew that we primarily wanted a boondock.
And this isn't like the most ideal boondocking rig either, But
We picked an RV that was about as high off the ground as you could possibly get. It's not super crazy long. It's not super crazy heavy, but deciding how you're going to live once you do full-time RV is the most important part about researching for that RV.
What's your least favorite part about full-time RV life?
we talk about this sometimes, and we can't come up with a whole lot, because this, after we figured out that we were going to do this, we're like, this is what we want, and it doesn't matter to us that there's minor inconveniences or that it's a small space. I can only remember one time that I got so frustrated, and it was when our youngest was with us, that I just was like, I can't look at you guys or talk to you anymore. So I just got in the truck and I drove for a while, and I didn't even know where I was going, and that really has only happened once. Of course we argue, and it's not always the most fun time. And so I guess I'm saying all of that to say it's close quarters, but still that doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, we talk about that often when we're talking to people. The fact that you have to honor each other's space. If somebody needs the space, we easily give that. In the beginning, I think it was harder for us to do that, because it was like, we're supposed to be loving this. We're supposed to be together all the time. This is what we're supposed to be doing. But I had a similar experience. We were in Montana and we were arguing, and I just got in the truck and I left, and I had no clue where I was going, but I was just like, I have got to get out of here and I have to have some space. And I think from that point forward, that was kind of
a realization.
It really was. And now we both just have our own space in the RV. We love to spend time together. We love each other. We like each other, but we both need time alone. And so I think realizing that and honoring that is super important.
Mm-hmm.
I also love what you said about we get to live this lifestyle, and they are just minor inconveniences. And that is a really cool outlook. Something she and I remind each other of all the time is if something's inconvenient, this is just one example. You're trying to get to something and you got to move 4 items out of the way to get to the one you want. We always we look at each other and we say, we get to live this lifestyle. I mean, it's a minor inconvenience. Who cares?
Yeah, and pulling the stuff out of the cabinet, sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, I have a little basket for all of my spices and stuff, and it's up in a cabinet, and so every time I need something, I have to pull the whole basket down, and then I have to look through, and I could probably come up with a better solution, but I just haven't. But it's just, you do what you got to do what you want to do. When you're going to sell your house and get rid of all your stuff, you have to go like, okay, we're making this decision. This is a huge decision. Why are we doing this? And that was one thing that we always would come back to, is we don't want to be 80, 90 years old going, what if we just tried that? What experiences would we have? Because you can always go back. If it doesn't work out, you can always go back.
So do you guys have a challenging the most challenging thing you faced as full-time RVers?
We've been very, very lucky. Yeah. Knock on wood, we haven't had any super challenging, instances. We've known people who have their RV and their truck caught on fire and they lost everything. So, we've been really, really lucky. And the only real challenging thing is, we've had a flat tire. There've been there's been a water leak. We've fixed water leaks. There's been problems with a toilet or problems with a sink.
But he's super handy, and he's always fixed all that stuff, even in our house. So it kind of wasn't anything different than fixing stuff in the house.
Where can people find you on social media?
Primarily right now on Instagram, also Facebook, TikTok, which may or may not be there. And I would love to get started on YouTube more.
So what's your handle where they can find you?
Wake Up and Wonder.
All right, and we will put links below to all of your different platforms.
Thanks so much for listening to the Work Camping with Why Not Wander podcast.
You can see today's show notes at whynotwander.com/podcast. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive regular updates from us, along with special discounts at whynotwander.com/updates.